Hi, I'm Shizu Saldamando. I'm an artist and a 2020 COLA Fellow. So I am a portrait artist and I primarily do portraits of friends and family. I'm originally from the city of San Francisco in the Mission District, and I grew up around a lot of Chicano art centers. That was like my first, I guess, exposure to art, were like murals and traditional Chicano art practices. Frequenting those spaces, I became aware of the Chicano art movement in a broader context in California. When I actually got into art school and I got into UCLA, I knew I wanted to go to LA and see the different Chicano art movements that were happening in East LA, which was like ground zero for Chicano culture. So I was able to take the bus from UCLA to East LA and was able to see all these artists that I had just seen their artwork archiving through. It was kind of like this pilgrimage almost to see like all these different artists work in person and to see that the art world was very large and multifaceted and not just mainstream like MoMA kind of practice that I guess a lot of larger institutions would want you to believe, because there is a lot of erasure going on. So LA for me has always been very deeply rooted in Mexicanidad. Chicano art was really about exploring larger contexts or just recognizing different communities of artists, and that's been a really great experience to see. Unfortunately, I haven't experienced that in a larger context, like in terms of media, what I've seen on the news or mainstream art circles. For me, portraiture has been a way for me to reconcile that and creating people and family that I see in art world context. It isn't just white viewership consuming Chicano art. There's actually Chicano viewers or Latinx viewers that are appreciating art too. I think it's important for me to get into those nuances because they are so pertinent right now. For the COLA Award, and we were supposed to have this exhibition at Municipal Art Gallery in Hollywood, and that's always been a really great site for goth clubs when I was younger. So for this body of work, I had hoped to focus on a lot of my friends going to goth clubs in Hollywood. And dance clubs have always been like a really big part of my own self-medicating and dealing with traumas, going out and dancing and releasing that way. In LA in the 90s, I would go to a lot of goth clubs and draw portraits of friends that I went with, trying to capture these moments of when people felt free in themselves, just outside of all the other pressures of society, as they can really truly be who they want to be with chosen family, with their friends, and dress the way they want to and enjoy the same kind of music with other people. And there's that camaraderie. And Hollywood has always been a big part of that. And people assume LA is one kind of way. They assume it's a very flattened experience of Hollywoodness, industry of films. There is such a huge population of people and experiences that exist outside of that. It's really great to acknowledge and realize when you do go to these clubs or when you have and participate in that community, you know that it's predominantly Latinx and Chicanos that frequent these spaces. And it's important to realize that, and queer too, they're queer spaces as well. There's not those sort of like stereotypes of what Latinx or Chicano culture is in a lot of those spaces. I think that's the signifiers that we've been trained to see. For instance, like this recognition of gang culture associated with Latinx and Chicano culture. And that's sort of like the one cultural identifier that mainstream media has promoted and has been sort of like at the forefront now. It's really important to realize that there are so many other aspects of Latinx or Chicano identity aside from that, even though that's a completely valid and important aspect as well. It's just a disservice not to recognize the variation and the multifaceted ways that we all exist in this world. For me, it's definitely a personal practice, right? The personal is political. I'm not trying to make a manifesto about how things should be, but more just exploring my own life and hopefully showing my own friends and my own social circle as a way to lead into these larger questions. It's important to recognize the multifaceted ways that we construct ourselves and dismantling of flattening stereotypes and media gazes. That's really important. But I think I'm doing that maybe indirectly just by depicting friends that I admire in a way. It's a personal thing for me. It's more about the recognition of some sort of relatability, seeing myself in that, and admiration for people that I really like and admire and want to honor through portraiture.